more from the volunteers on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to our viewers. We took a little break. Really, the break, ladies and gentlemen, was because someone was making noise outside, and our wonderful Karen here just didn't tolerate it. No, it was good. So we thank you for that little quick break. But Prav, I think before the break, what we were talking about was just the feelings you had going into treatment, being there, meeting people.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned in my recovery is that we all have the same story, just different facts.
Yeah.
And that's in the world of recovery, and I think just generally speaking amongst humans, so many of us have like very similar experiences, and it's just same facts, different story. And I think that for people who aren't aware of the recovery movement and what happens for us is that we find strength in numbers, and we use that strength to keep ourselves feeling good, because we'll reach out. As an example, like prior to going to treatment, how often would you reach out to someone to talk about problems?
Not really. I've never really. I mean, days. I'd be like, you're just in a, different world. And, I call Sumit, and he messaged back like, "You gotta go to treatment," right? Like,
That was my response to him all the time. Treatment? Question mark? Because until you're ready to go, it's very difficult to want to move forward. But
yeah, it's just difficult to move forward. I mean, there's no, I never really had like a lot of issues. Like it was just, I don't know, it was just, you're just numbing yourself and just drinking, and it's just,
would you think, I don't know, and that's something I try to understand, do you think that sense of belonging was a part of this? Because sometimes like for KidsPlay or LiveBig and all these other organizations, people start to connect, they start to become a part of something positive. Do you think a lack of that during the time you were going through all of this may have contributed?
lack of belonging. No. I mean, I came to the point where, I just started cutting everybody off, and I just was doing it on my own, sitting like, at my theater rooms, like I'd sit downstairs. It was pretty comfortable. I got like a mini fridge right there for beer, and a liquor store that was literally like not even like a minute drive from my house. So everything was just all like just there, right? So I just just kind of isolated myself from the world. So I mean, people call me, like, come hang out, this, that, but then most people didn't want to drink, right? So I wouldn't go. There's no food, alcohol there, right? So
it's amazing how it starts to rule your life decisions.
Yeah.
At least it did for me, is that so much of it became, and there's this, to answer your question, for me personally, absolutely. There was a part of a sense of, I think it sort of stemmed from insecurities that I had, and just general feelings of feeling inadequate. Now talking to people in the program, outside of the program, I think that's a very shared sort of thought that we, as people generally speaking, don't feel we're good enough. And when I would not feel good enough, I would people please, and I would do things to placate others, and I would do things to try to make other people around me feel better. And then I would regret doing that because I always wanted to try to be an authentic person. Yeah. And then in addition to that, I had created this identity online, right? Of this super successful person, Facebook pictures and all that sort of stuff to make it look like life is so grand and great.
Yeah.
But inside it's just destroyed.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone last night, and somebody called me on the phone I haven't talked to in a long time, and he and I were just talking about that. He's like, man, everything looks so good online, outside, in the way that we portray ourselves as human beings, but we never really get a chance to talk about what's really going on inside.
Yeah.
And then we're furthering the facade, forgetting to take care of ourselves, and then for me at least, I got lost in the shuffle. So that's why I asked you that question, like, who is Prav?
Yeah.
Because I'm at one point in my life, I feel like I knew who I was.
Yeah.
But then I got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And then I came out of treatment. I had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
Like it's because they break down your all the issues that we have in treatment, right?
Yeah.
And then you come out and you're like, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Like, who am I? Like what's happened?
Like, what have you learned about yourself post treatment? Like, who is Prav? Let's ask that question.
A few people that I can talk to day to day. I mean, they're just like, too nice. You're too kind. We're very honest, right? Like, I'm pretty straight up.
Yeah, you are very straight
I
up.
don't.
Yes. Well, my goodness, yeah, this boy's a straight up boy. Yeah.
I mean, you just I don't know. It's who I am. Like everybody's like, why? Like I don't go on my way to argue with someone for no reason. Or if someone is gonna put that energy towards you, you get the same energy back. But yeah, it's just slowly figuring it out. I mean, more and more, right?
I mean, from the first time I met you, I remember the first time I met Sumit, and
Yeah, sorry about that, by the way.
No, it was, like you said, so honest, genuine, and kind, and just willing to accept, because you wouldn't think a top-notch lawyer who's made it all. I mean, it's amazing what you've done with your life.
Thank you.
Would actually take out the time to do something like this. You don't meet very many people like that.
I love this. It's the coolest part of my Saturday, man. I'll tell you. You've been excited about this since we talked about it last time.
Let's go.
Prav doesn't think so. He thinks I woke him up too early and brought him here, but...
Yeah. Not this Prav. There's another Prav behind
Prav.
Welcome to the podcast. Our surprise guest today is...
Yes, invisible.
Yeah.
No, but I thought that was amazing. And, to be able to work with your expertise and who you are, and sort of bring that onto, we always say that I, for example, don't have all the resources to bring forward. I don't know everything, and I'm learning every single day. Prav, all of us. But when we come together, we can kind of contribute in our own different ways and our own unique ways and build something beautiful. We were talking about how this is 5 years of KidsPlay. I, for once, don't even know where time went.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Right?
And doing good things.
Absolutely. And how far you come as a person. I mean, like Sumit said, when you see that change in someone else's life that you can bring, but then what that does for you in return is just, I have no words.
It's unbelievable. It's that light turns on, you see it, and then it becomes its own addiction within itself, because then you just want to go out and help. Like, perhaps since you've been out, you're just like chomping at the bit. Like, I want to get involved, I want to do this, I want to be able to start telling my story and help people.
Like last week I came to your office,
Mhm.
and I just seen like someone working, and then he was telling me he's doing all this stuff, and I'm like, because I read a quote that's like, who you surround, you become who you surround yourself with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm like, I gotta keep someone close to me. This person close to me, that person close to me, and like people that are actually positive and doing things for them, and you just become them, and I look up to kind of like something. So
I look up to you too. It's a mutual thing. That's it. We are following social protocols. That handshake was safe. And
Of course. We've got
we'll put that right there just in case. So when any post, why are they shaking hands? Yeah, no.
No, we'll come far now. This is being
okay
shot
now.
way after. So we're okay.
It's really who I surround myself with, who you surround yourself with, and we work together towards a common goal. I want to touch on something you said that I heard you say the word accept. Part of the program for me, and what Prav and I are going through now to talk about just the recovery journey, is acceptance. Acceptance of people for who they are, and stop trying to change others. All Prav can do is control what we do and how we respond to things, as opposed to how we react to things. Because there's a significant difference between a reaction and a response. We forget about the I think, subtle differences between the two. You've got a reaction, which is emotional, immediate. Then you've got a response, which is more sort of thought out, and sort of you let the information soak in, and then you make a decision and you respond to it. So one of the key themes I think that we learn is just how about to regulate ourselves emotionally, and then be able to choose not to react, think about it for a second, and then respond. And when you respond, I find, at least in my experiences so far, is that I respond much better, and I respond differently than I used to. Because I used to perhaps, and this I think is a male thing, and I've talked to a lot of guys about this, and I'd love your thoughts on this, is that I think I had two emotions. I had anger, and I had really sadness. Just sad and angry. Those are the two, I think, key emotions. Like, they call it your survival instincts. It's called fight or flight. Those are the two basic, I think, instincts that we needed as cavemen back in the day to be able to survive. And at least for me, that's really what I had at the end. It was either I was going to get super angry or I was going to run away from the situation. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more emotions than that. And treatment taught me about being able to understand my emotions and to be able to talk about them and not feel like it's weak. Like, I'm not supposed to talk about my feelings, I'm a big guy, like that kind of nonsense. Like, have you found that you start, like, you're more able to express your emotions?
Yeah, you can, I talk to my mom one time, talk to my dad, talk to my sister, I get people that I want to treatment a call sometimes, just, even if it doesn't matter about, like, even if I don't have nothing, I just call them to see how they're doing. Mm-hmm. Or, I just call, even if they're not even from treatment, if I simple calls like that make a big difference. You know, maybe someone has had a hard day at work, maybe they'll tell you something, talking about it, right? Makes it that much better.
I find when I get it out of me and out into the universe,
Yeah.
the strength of it. Like it may not, it's not gonna. I don't think it resolves the problem just by talking it in all instances.
Yeah.
But I feel so much better once I've let it out. I'm no longer holding it. What is it? I heard a wise person once say to me, I would hold down my emotions, and he used to say that when you bury your feelings, you bury them alive, because they're coming right back. And that's at least for me what I did. And when we talk about like, at the end for me, the drugs and the alcohol were just they were just to numb my feelings.
Yeah.
It was just medicine. It's not fun anymore.
No.
There's no fun. Like I'm not drinking and saying, "Oh, this is a blast." I'm not using substances to say, "Oh, I'm having so much fun." Woo, all that nonsense. I was using it as pure medicine, and that's the part of it is that was what the only thing that worked at the end. But it's not working. But my mind needs it. Like as an example, somebody explained it to me like an addiction, right? Here's your regular serotonin levels, and then imagine this is your satisfaction bar. When you're on normal levels, you're feeling it, right? Now with drugs and alcohol, you move that satisfaction barrier up here, so you need the drugs and alcohol to get up here. Without it, I'm only going halfway. So between this and this, I'm dying inside because my body is craving these things. It's scientific, right? And that's the addiction, that's the disease right there. I didn't ask, like, did you think when you were growing up, when you were a kid, I'm gonna grow up and get addicted to alcohol and substances?
No.
Did you, anybody who in their right mind says like, I'm gonna grow up, that's it, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna screw up my life and this is what I'm gonna become.
No, I always thought, I'd be doing other things than that, right?
And you have, and now look at it, right? And it's beautiful to watch your evolution.
Yeah, just I'm still, I'm still at the age where I can still bounce back and live my life. It's never too late, right? So it doesn't matter what age you're, but it's never too late.
It never ever. And I've got a friend that we're working with right now, and is a LiveBig participant. He's gone to treatment. He's over 60 years old. He's loving life. Like it's incredible to watch because he at the beginning too would say, I don't know if I want to get help at this age. I'm sort of stuck in my ways. And I don't know what difference it'll make in my life. Like we talk on the phone, he's traveling around the world, he's doing all these fun things. Like It's like I love what you just said. It's never too late.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge problem, at least in our culture. I get lots of calls from family members about their dads or uncles, things of that nature, like that sort of traditional. We all drink; it's part of our lifestyle, and it's terrifying because a lot of the uncles will say, "Mac ki karna hun, mac ka to change karna."
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Mac karna niga, mac ka pi jana hai, and then it's all
Because
this.
I'm at that point in my life, I'm older, I can't change, and they use that as an excuse. Definitely.
Can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? All that bullshit,
Yeah.
I'll say.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, without a doubt, we've got uncles and aunties in our programs that have changed their lives, right? And you see the connection now between them and their children and so on. It's a beautiful thing, right? And Brad, with you, like, you've been out now for, was it 2 months?
2 months.
Almost 2 months, right?
March 24th. Yeah, March 24th.
What was it like coming home? Like, what was that feeling like?
Well, my dad picked me up, and then I drove in like 2 months. So I was like, okay, let me drive home.
Yeah. First thing, right? It's amazing how you miss when
well,
you're
I was kind of confused. I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? What am I going to, it's because of this COVID stuff going on too, right? So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, even before treatment, I'm like, oh my God, I can't have fun anymore. Like, I'm not going to be able to drink or do anything. But now I'm having the time of my life, right? You actually have fun. You actually, wake up in the morning, you feel good. I pray in the morning before I wake up. Like after I wake up, I pray, and then I pray after, at night, and just doing those small things, because we lose sight of the small things, right? So, after I came home from treatment, I came home, first thing I told my mom was, make some aloo wale parathe, right?
Always.
Like, I need some.
Now you put that in my mind. We're going to my mom's house after this.
Yeah, I think my mom's at home today. That's what happens.
Seeing everybody happy, and my mom and sister, they were both clapping when I got home, right?
Oh.
I had my suitcase with me. I had a big beard going on, looking like I was like, I can leave my house for a couple of days.
I remember talking to you. He's like, "Look at my beard." No, it's an incredible feeling, right? Because you've accomplished something, and I want to touch on something you said. I used to equate having fun with alcohol. Like I can't have fun. How am I going to go out somewhere and do something and be able to enjoy myself if I'm not drinking and everyone else is?
Yeah.
Like there's this connection and
And
nexus.
you're not the only one.
It's there.
Everybody thinks that way.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't drink, how am I supposed to fit in? All my friends do it, and we see that a lot.
It's good, or even to the point of, well, I'm not going to go because they're drinking. And so you'll at least for me, like when I was in between the times when I was trying not to drink pre-2017, I would just say, okay, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay at home. Like almost like a punishment to not live my life because I'm not drinking. Like it was just this making drinking a god. That's scary, right? And at least for me, that's how it started to happen. And it's like now I can go places and have fun, and other people are drinking. And I think that the core of it is learning who you are. And once you learn who you are, you don't need anything else to help you have fun.
I mean, usually like last weekend, there was a party at my house. My cousin was there. Everybody, having a couple beers. I'm sitting there, just having my Pepsi. Like I just.
And you're enjoying it.
I'm just enjoying it. Like I was having more fun just talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And just like having a good, having a good time.
You were present.
And then you get to, it's just like when I was drinking and using substances, right? You were just kind of like, you just out of basically it's out of your mind. You don't, and then now I just actually like talk and see how people are, who they are. And it's kind of cool. It's different when you're on, when you're sober and you're focused and your mind just.
Well, I love that. And you know what? I think it's actually more difficult with the current technology that's available to us. Because like you look at someone's Snapchat video of the 10 seconds of them at a party having a blast and they're all screaming and showing up and showing out in that video, right?
Call them in the morning.
And then you can, or be there and see what happens outside of those 10 or 20 seconds where they look like they're having a blast, okay?
Yeah.
Like that's what makes me laugh because I'll sit there, I feel like an old man now, okay? My wife makes so much fun out of me. And I'm watching, I still think I go right on the Snapchat, I learned that to watch them. And you're sitting there and you're watching it and I'm like, oh my goodness, like they look like they're having such a good time. And then you read, then they'll start explaining how the night was the next morning in our WhatsApp group, and then they'll explain all the negative things that happened.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, so we're looking at 10 to 20 second snapshot images of a overall night, and people are just showing the best parts of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's harder not to think, oh my goodness, it's so much fun out there. It's unfortunately false advertising, right? And that's the part is that I know not, and I'm not. Look, there's a difference between. I'm not a proponent saying that everyone in the world has to stop drinking.
Of course.
It's a problem for people like me. It's a problem for people like you. It's a problem for millions of people in this world. Millions and millions and millions of people. What I'm afraid of is that I think we're losing sight of the necessity to be connected and to know about ourselves. And that's a fear to me because like, knowing about yourself, wouldn't you agree, is perhaps the biggest gift we've gotten from recovery?
Yeah, for sure.
And being able to be yourself at all times,
Yeah, definitely.
I found for me, and perhaps this is going to sound, it's hard to articulate, but I became a different person in the different parts of my life. I was a different Sumit at work. I was a different Sumit at home. I was a different person with friends. I was a different person in other places. And it was like me trying to keep up with the 4 different personalities and personas that I had created.
Yeah.
The goal for me now, and I think the biggest gift that I've gotten, is that I'm me across the partitions of life. At all times, it's just the same person and the same thing. I'm the same guy sitting in this room. I'll swear a little bit more here than I would be in a courtroom, right?
Yeah.
I can't swear there unless I'm reading something.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying there? Is that like, have you found that you're you more often than you ever were before?
Yeah. I mean, now you know who you truly are, and like at work, I was really, really good, right? But, I go to work and then. But then as soon as 5 o'clock hit, I'd be going to the liquor store, grabbing a bottle, and then store myself. And then in the morning, I find myself, feeling like crap, right? I mean, it's only been 3 months of my sobriety, so
That's
still,
huge,
still,
yeah. No, definitely.
I mean, that's beautiful stuff, bro.
right? But
Yeah.
I'm still, still working towards. But I take it day by day, though, right? So I mean, next 3 months, we'll do this again, and then we'll see. Update,
Yeah, that would be cool.
With the amount of passion you're showing, I think you're doing everything right.
Yeah.
Prav and I, we have the privilege of talking almost every day.
Yeah.
There are days that life gets in the way, right? But we get a chance just to check in quickly, and that's a big part of our program, and something I think people should just do generally is be able to communicate with someone. and just check in with each other, and we'll just have a quick, like last night we talked for maybe 10 minutes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just laughed and like little children, right? And you're just laughing at life's things and talking about today and just sort of sharing excitement. Like one of the coolest things about talking to you is that like, I can feel your excitement for life.
Yeah.
Like, what's it like waking up in the morning now?
Beautiful. First thing I do is go grab a coffee, go for a nice drive. I don't know, I like to go for a drive in the morning, to go out. Some people are like, want to go buy a coffee machine, but I just like to go for a drive, that's the morning and see everybody, out ready, doing things.
Ready for the
And
day?
it's so nice out,
Yeah.
right? I never knew like when I was, in my, the alcohol and substance, using that, I didn't like the sun. It was weird, like I just
Oh, the sun was scary, buddy. Where did
Now
that sun
actually,
come
yeah,
from?
like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Oh,
I mean,
jeez.
like me and my cousin, we went to a track, and it was like nice and sunny, everybody's out, and I'm like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Just, like you lose like sight of life, like it's weird when you're in that, mind state. But now, like, I go and it's beautiful. Sure.
Isn't it
And it's fun.
Isn't it amazing? Like I remember, like I would go to some of the most beautiful places, right? I was invited to all these fancy things, right?
Yeah.
And just even in general, being outside with my family at the beach, like when we take them out somewhere, I wasn't looking at the Bonnie or the horizon. I'm just thinking about the problems. And it's like having this dark cloud over your head, at least for me it was, that it was just this constant state of feeling anxious about things. And that's a scary place to be because you can't really enjoy what's in front of you. At least it was for me, and a lot of people I've spoken to. And then that cloud goes away, and then you eventually get to a place where, I don't know. For me, I was waiting for so long for the shoe to drop because I was always this. We call it the pink cloud, especially when you come out of treatment. You're feeling so good about life and everything's going okay, and then you're just waiting for something negative to happen. At least I feel like I had conditioned myself to believe that something bad is going to happen.
It can't stay good.
This can't stay good because that's been the story of my life, that when things go good, something negative happens, right? And then because negative things will happen, it's inevitable. We're not going to have a perfect life. There's no such thing as perfection. We talked about this. Now it's realizing that when negative things happen, they're inevitable. But it's how do we deal with that negative and not let it now start to rule our day or our life? And that's sort of the key of what we've learned, right? And like, I think one of the best teachings of our recovery program is the piece around acceptance, is that when I accepted the problem, I can accept it as a problem and not try to run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at it now like it's a wall, and I can start to think about a solution to that problem. When I stopped living in the problem and began living in the solution, the problem went away.
Wow.
And that's one of the key themes, I think. So
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, what kind of things can you tell someone who's thinking about going to treatment? Like, what are your thoughts on that? And like, what do you have any tips that you can give to others that are dealing with the same problem?
I suggest go. I mean, I went and take my life, and it could change, your life too. So I suggest going. I mean, it's it's a good, really, really good positive. It's a good place. There's no, like, you'll hear stories about others and share your story. You learn a lot about yourself. One-on-one you do counseling. You do group therapy. You do like this lecture, and you just learn. It's kind of like just resetting your, it's kind of resetting your mind, right?
Wow.
It's just kind of like a recharge and be like, okay, and it's you just gotta go there just to see how it is. And it changed my life, but it changed everybody else's life, right?
Did you think it would have this effect on you?
Well, when I was in
I didn't. I have no problem saying it. I was like, there's no way.
yeah, there's like my thing was okay. I'm like, okay, my phone away. I'm like, okay, I got 2 months. I gotta figure my life. I gotta figure this out. What's going on with me? And then I was actually talking to one of my friends in there. I'm like, after we leave, like, what's gonna happen? And suddenly, you go back to your old habits or you change your habits, right? So my thing was, okay, I'm gonna put things in place in my life that, like, hey, okay, keep myself busy, because they teach you how to structure. You gotta structure. There, you're busy all day, right? There, there's certain, you gotta go to, like, you wake up, you gotta go for breakfast, you gotta, you're not sleeping until like 12 or 1 p.m. there. They're waking you up at 7. They're getting your day started. Same like it's like almost like a work schedule. You go to lecture, you go to counseling, you do lunch, and then 7 p.m. you're free after that, right? You just hang out, watch TV. But yeah, as soon as I'm like, okay, it's either I change my life around or I go back to my old habits, right? And this is all about just changing my life around now. Just going back, obviously life's always there's gonna be things coming up, things happen, but I'm always just gonna, they teach you how to deal with those things instead of going to pick up a bottle. There's other ways like going for walks. I love going for walks, right? It just clears your mind,
Yeah.
and you just, and then, there's so many different people, then you just talk about like life, and it's just like, so relaxing, just going for a walk. I never thought I'd love going for walks, but I love going for walks.
It's cool to see things, right? I don't know. It's just you keep yourself busy and you notice things because there's this relaxation of the mind, perhaps, and like that. I think comes to me from praying and meditation practices, right?
Yeah.
Like I had difficulty wrapping my mind around the concept of God again, because like when you go through life, at least for me, right, and there was all these negative things happening. Like I remember when my father passed away. I remember being in the hospital when we were told, okay, he's not going to survive. 13 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, well, that can't be a God. Why would God do this to me? And I remember rationalizing in my mind that day. I was like, no, I'm just not going to believe in it like this, and then things happen and you lose friends, and I lose my best friend, and 10 years later, in 2007, and I remember like in a motorcycle accident, I'm sitting there and his body's in front of me, and I'm looking up at the sky and I'm saying, fuck you, mind my language, guys, but it's like there can't be, if there's a God out there, why would he be doing this to me? And then start to think of that. And I think a huge part of our program is the belief in a higher power. And a higher power doesn't necessarily have to be a God. It can be a connection to people. It can be 3, 4, 5 people sitting in a room talking about real things that have a connection and are having, like, this is life right now. So for me, I think like the praying part of it has become so important. But for me, perhaps, and for anyone else who would struggle with the ideology piece of it, that there's perhaps for me at least, I look at it more from a spiritual realm as opposed to a religious realm. And for me, the spirituality part of it is just being connected to something bigger than myself. And it's that simple. And then when I'm praying, I'm just talking out loud. Yeah. And sometimes my wife and my kids will be like, who are you talking to? I was like, I don't know. But I feel better about it when I'm doing that. And I'll just be walking around.
Energy, like you said, like letting it go into the universe.
Gone.
Yeah.
And just talking and like, looking for signs as opposed to not. And I'm not really looking for them, but things present themselves to you when you're able to slow I call it the rat wheel in the mind, right? Is that when that slows down, you can kind of open yourself up for these opportunities. And it's cool because I know over the last few days you've been offered a job, and things are moving forward in your personal life, which is really cool. And like those things did you plan those things, or did they just come out of nowhere and fall in your lap in a way?
No, they just kind of came through, and just every day gets better, right? So it's just kind of like like job wise, I mean, it was perfect because like there's no drinking at the shop or anything like that. So it's kind of, and then like Simran, he's just like Summit, so he helps me out a lot too, right? So
that's awesome.
You just surround yourself with good people. You just kind of learn from them. And, I'm just setting up my boundaries, and setting up my where just positive, working in a positive place, and hanging out with positive people, So it's just.
I just want to ask you, because you're from Abbotsford and there's so much stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
Whether that's Surrey, Abbotsford, these cities, kids are bad, there's always bad things happening, especially South Asian community, so many labels. Do you think that also contributed to not only you, but the people that you saw around you, getting involved with the wrong crowd, or basically thinking that, hey, you know what, I'm labeled, I may as well. This is who I am, when they're just imposed with that identity, that this is who you are, you belong to this city, and this is how people are going to view you. Do you think that has had an impact on you, or people that you're friends with, or your loved ones?
For me personally, I wanted to change it always, right? Like, this is not like there's something going on, I can't figure it out, right? And then, for me, like, it's at the end of it, it's all you, it's what you want. Right? Like, I wanted to go change myself, and I did, and look at me now, right? Reaching out to Summit. I mean, if it wasn't for his foundation, and him, like, I was just literally just googling, I was on Google, just trying to find a place to get up, and then Summit's story came up, and then I'm like, okay, like I watched his video online, and I'm like, well, we got to, we kind of share the same story, and then I'm like, okay. Then I emailed you know, the foundation, and then they gave me Sumit's number, and then I talked to Sumit, and then from there, it was just kind of like, okay, should I go or not? And then finally we made it happen.
It's amazing
Awesome.
to watch, right? Like, to answer your question about labels, I think those are very difficult things to deal with, especially once one starts to reconcile that perhaps this is who I am.
Yeah.
And then that it becomes easier to accept as opposed to fight back against. And I think that's where, especially when you're trying to learn who you are, and that sort of sense of belonging in a way, that in itself becomes something to belong to.
Yeah.
That label, right? And those are, I think, difficult things to deal with, and it takes people like Prav, people who are willing to step forward and say, hey, this is what my life was like. This is the change that I made. This is what life is like now.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the types of things, and like, I think you don't give yourself enough credit for the amount of help you're giving others at this stage as well. And it's cool to see, like, it's not a one-way relationship between Prav and I, where he'll call me and like I'm the one that's some sort of giving him advice. It's a two-way street.
Of course.
I call you all the time and sort of vent to you about what's going on in my life, and that's what I think the connection piece is. It's not a one-way; it's a two-way.
Of course.
You've helped me in significant ways, and to watch him recover and go through things and be able to reconnect with his life, that's what gives me strength to be able to continue going. And you'll notice the same thing, right? Is that as you start to get to a place where you're going to be working with other people coming in, that's the key, and that's the lifeblood to this thing. And I think to perhaps just even with anyone who's watching, who's struggling with the labels and who's struggling with that thought of how do I change this now? It takes one step forward, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's that first step that gets you running. It's that first step that gets you walking. It's then those next steps, once you learned how to walk properly, that gets you to the sort of fast walking, and then from fast walking to running, and then from running to sprinting, right?
You're totally right. You know, and one of our members, Jessica, she's from Abbotsford as well, and she lost her brother due to gang violence.
Yeah.
And something she talked about in a speech she made this past October, we did a candlelight vigil to honor those who have lost to gang violence. Yeah. And she talked about how when you're a child, when you're a baby, your parents barricade everything. Mm-hmm. You know, the stairs, whatever, wherever the edges are, whatever it may be, so that their child is protected. But as a community, do we do that? You know, because we're all, in a sense, you know, we all need protection. We all need to be protected. But, you know, there's fingers being pointed at the government for doing better things, at the systems, at the school system, police systems, whatever it may be. You know, talk about why don't we kind of shelter and protect? Because this is our community, you know, and we live and grow in it. And a lot of times when people say, hey, you know what, it's not my household, or it's why do you do it? You're okay. You've got a good job. Why do you need to volunteer? Why do you need to even get out there? And it's really unfair, because you think to yourself, hey, only if you saw what's going on out there, you know, only if you paid attention outside of just your life, and you'll see what's going on.
100%. It's amazing. It's I think one of the worst things I ever heard was, I was talking to a person, and we were just talking about East Indian culture, and he said something to me, and he's like, man, he goes, no offense, but he goes, you guys are kind of like crabs in a bucket. And I was like, what do you mean crabs in a bucket? He goes, no, they won't let the other, one crab tries to get out and the other one's pull him down.
But,
you know what I mean? It's like, oh goodness, like where did that come from? And I started thinking about that on, like, not only, I don't think it's necessarily just an East Indian phenomenon, but I think it's with all cultures. It's like, there's this potential problem of, okay, you see somebody trying to do something good, and then you just slam them with something. Like, oh, what are they doing it for? I got paid to be here, man. I'm taking time off for my kids. I just want to talk to my friends, you know, like, and be able to perhaps say something that someone can hear and
maybe
do something.
That's somebody who needs to hear it, and that's about it.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those. It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like, perhaps let's not judge somebody's actions based on what we think they're trying to get out of something.
Get to know them.
Have a conversation.
One phone call,
and that's
one phone call, one email.
Yeah.
That's the premise behind our relationship, me and Prav, is that we don't judge each other on things. Like, you could tell me whatever you want. Yeah. I'm not going to judge you on it. I'm going to talk to you about it. I can't give you. One thing I know is that I know very little about life. That's the one thing I know. What I do know is what I've been through, and I can tell you what I've been through. I'm not able to give someone advice. You don't. Talk is cheap, right? It's how you walk the walk. Prav, you're walking the walk, man. Yeah. And that is in itself powerful. Like, if anyone has an opportunity, this is a poem written by Marianne Williamson. It's called Our Deepest Fear, right? And within that poem, she talks about when you are free to act your own way, by way of you leading by example, to paraphrase the poem, she says you liberate others to do the same thing.
You're absolutely right.
It's liberation through conduct. It's liberation through leading by example. And like, Prav, when you lead by example, you set an example for your cousin sitting there in the corner. Yeah. I've seen him smiling over there, just watching his big cousin talk on something that's real. Like that's what this is about. is about watching people evolve, grow, and do things, man. It's unbelievable. And I think the more we talk about these things and the more that we're able to walk together so that there's the strength in the numbers, that's how we're going to affect change in this world.
100%.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to share with the audience? Any message that you can give people that are dealing with the same things you're dealing with, my brother?
That's it. I mean, if you need the help, go get help, and it's worth it.
One thing I want to share with everyone there is that Prav is an extremely humble guy. He doesn't talk about all the amazing things that he's doing himself to try to destigmatize. And I'm honored to be able to walk with a man like him. I'm honored to walk with a sister like you and the people that are involved in our respective organizations that are sitting here and help us make this possible. I'm inspired to be able to continue to show you Prav's journey as he goes forward. And I think that's something that we're going to do again and have you back on to just sort of keep showing the work you're putting in and the amazing results that are happening.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Awesome.
Signing off. Thank you for watching. And God bless you all.
Thank you.